currency, we had barter. I'll give you 3 coconuts and you give me 4 fish, because that's kind of a fair exchange on coconuts to fish. But that got complicated, so we had to invent this thing called money to be a divisible, portable medium of exchange. And the challenge is that we lost that a long time ago, when we lost having things of value be our currency, and now we have this thing called numbers and accounts. But trust me, it is not real. It's a big made-up story.
One of the biggest make-believe stories ever is called quantitative easing, which sounds complex, but it's really just a smoke and mirrors term for currency creation. QE started with the banking bailouts back in 2009. This currency was created out of thin air and then given to the banks, who paid themselves record bonuses in reward for crashing the world economy. This is a global phenomenon, but all you have to remember for now is that whether it's QE bailouts or stimulus programs, these are all just voodoo, hocus-pocus terms for increased currency creation.
I believe gold and silver will reassert themselves as money. And when they do, there just isn't enough. And their purchasing power is going to go up many, many, many times. Egypt is an amazing place. There's a franticness about it, and utter chaos, especially like the traffic. But when it comes to like all of the merchants that are trying to get every last dime out of you, you get fleeced to the point where you come back with an empty wallet. But you know what? They're amateurs compared to Wall Street.
In the past several years, I've spoken in many countries about the crisis that's coming, and a lot of people think that they're going to be okay in their country, that it's only going to happen to the United States or maybe the United States in Europe. But what they don't realize is that this is a global phenomenon. I got to show you something here. This is base currency in the United States. This is the number of paper dollars that exist, basically. It took 200 years to go from no dollars in existence to 825 billion. And then we had the bailouts, and then we had QE1, quantitative easing 1, then QE2, and then we had QE3, and then QE4, and then soon we're going to have QE57 and QE382. And it isn't just here. This is what the Canadian currency supply looks like. This is Australia, South Africa, Russia. Now, this starts out in just the year 2001, and this is like 18 times more currency in existence in a little over a decade. Here's Singapore, same story. Look at that, since the crisis, just bam. India, China, every government on the planet is doing this insane deficit spending and expanding their currency supplies, doing bailouts. And history shows that there is no example of this turning out well.
It is sometimes amazing that we haven't experienced more inflation than we have. If they keep expanding the money supply so vastly, why aren't our prices growing faster than they really are? And the answer is that a good chunk of the money that the Fed created has been shipped overseas. I remember early in my research, I heard this expression that the Americans have exported their inflation. I thought, what is that? How can you export your inflation? Put it in a box and send it out? What do you do? Well, now I understand. You export your inflation by simply sending all these dollars that you created to these other countries, and then they send you their refrigerators and their cars and whatever, their TV sets. So you get hardware, and they get little pieces of paper. It's a great deal for the American people for a while. For a while. Sooner or later, all of those pigeons come home to roost. When the time comes, as it looks like it's now coming, when the rest of the world is saying, we don't want to play this game anymore, Uncle Sam's dollars are just becoming worthless, there are too many of them, we've got to find something else other than American dollars, then those dollars start to come back to America. People say, we don't want them anymore, what do we do with them? Once this revs up, and we've got this little trickle of money coming back that we previously exported, once it becomes a flood and it starts to rush back, now we are getting our former exported inflation brought back to us, and then we'll see the quantity of money inside the United States grow much more rapidly even than the Federal Reserve can create it, because we're getting a previous money back. And that's when we will really see the tanking of the US dollar in terms of what it will buy.
During the second round of quantitative easing, global food prices went up 60%. And this created a humanitarian disaster for the 2 billion people on Earth who live on less than $2 a day. These people were hungry to start with, they became hungrier, and some of them started overthrowing their governments in North Africa and around the Middle East. So quantitative easing was the spark that ignited the Arab Spring. So that's it. When you create money, you get some sort of inflation. It just depends on where the inflation goes.
It's all going down, down, down. Peasants are reeling from a game of coins and crowns.
Given the premise that you have a permanent underclass or poor class, and how does inflation affect them disproportionately, it affects them basically in the percentage of their income that goes to food. And we see this as a ratio, and we know that there are some danger points. For example, in Egypt recently, once that ratio got to 40% of income going to food and the price of food rising due to inflation, when it got to 40%, that's historically a point where people actually stage a revolution. That's exactly what we saw. The French Revolution, similarly, was all around the price of food getting to a certain critical point where people simply, the risk-reward for revolution was favorable toward revolution.
When they print it up, then it all goes down.
Well, exactly right, because when you have a runaway inflation, it's punishing the very people who are most productive in society. In other words, the people that produce more than they consume and save the difference. The problem is that those productive people, the savers, save in their national currency. And unfortunately, the national currency is just a fiat piece of paper at this point. So when it's destroyed through runaway inflation, that $100,000 that you were hoping to retire on doesn't exist. And the things that you were going to buy with it and provide for others don't exist either. Now what are you going to do?
So that all seems pretty scary. However, this is going to happen, and you can only play the hand that you're dealt. But the great news is that gold and silver always end up doing an accounting of the expansion of the currency supplies. Basically, the will of the public and the free markets. When governments do this kind of stuff to their currency supply, they debase it. Eventually it comes back in inflation. People sense the loss of their purchasing power. They rush back to gold and silver, and they bid the value of the gold and silver up in the country until it meets or exceeds the value of all the currency in circulation. This is a process that's been going on over and over again throughout history, except this time it's happening on a global scale. It has never before happened in all countries at once. And that means that this is the greatest wealth transfer in history. Therefore, it's the greatest opportunity in history, and it's not going to happen again in your lifetime.
So now we've learned that your true wealth is your time and your freedom. Money is a trading tool that stores the economic energy that is your time and freedom, whereas currencies leak them away. Gold and silver are the ultimate money simply because of their properties. Fiat currencies are based solely on confidence and always return to their intrinsic value of zero. Governments don't like gold because it imposes restraint. Rising prices are a symptom of an expanding currency supply, and gold and silver always account for an expanding currency supply.
So that's it for this episode. Join me next time as we begin to investigate how monetary history just repeats and repeats, and how gold and silver always win the battle between currency and money. Until then, my challenge to you is to stop calling currency money. It's a crucial first step towards setting your mind free of all this economic voodoo and changing your context. You can learn more by watching the bonus features on our website, and if you have any questions, you can post them there, and we'll answer some of your questions in future bonus features. So good luck, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.
Good morning.
does fiat mean?
It comes from the Latin for crappy car.
In the desert in a suit.
My camel died.
You're not too sure about that, are you? Huh? I am ready for a good long nap.
Hi, welcome to this bonus feature for the very first episode of Hidden Secrets of Money. And this is currency versus money. So that's the major topic that
And now we're going to the sacred cow of save money. And in 1971, President Nixon took the dollar off the gold standard, basically took the world off the gold standard, and money was no longer money. So people are no longer saving money. So just to reiterate again, this is $300, what an ounce of gold was worth in the year 2000. So Kim, lift that. Okay. All right, and so this here is 1 ounce of gold in the year 2010, and it's now $1,100. Ugh, and this is why people are working so hard.
I can do it. I can do it. Yes, I can do it. Barely.
So the big reason I've said in my books for years that savers were losers is very simply because in 1971, the dollar stopped being money, it became debt. Right, Mike?
Yeah, the rules all changed in '71. Before then, somebody, when they became working age, they could expect to put away 10% a year, and by the time they got into their 60s, they could retire on their savings account and expect to live off that interest. And in '71, everything changed, and they started creating currency on a massive scale.
Worldwide.
Ever since then, worldwide. And that is what causes inflation and the loss of purchasing power. So people thinking that they can retire, back in the 50s, if you got $100,000 or $50,000, you could retire on that.
Yeah. So for my mom and dad, the World War II generation, the industrial age generation, it was very smart to save money. For our generation, the baby boom generation and all, saving money could be the most stupid thing you can do because the system is stealing your wealth through the very thing you work for, called money, which is not money anymore.
Right. Real money is actually gold and silver. Money has to maintain its value over long periods of time. Currency doesn't have to.
And this is historically, has always been, for thousands of years, this has been money.
5,000 years this has been the predominant currency. It became money when somebody minted it into coins in Lydia in about 680 BC. And each unit had the same buying power as the next one. They became interchangeable.
So let me ask you this. This printing of money out of just paper, this has been tried before, hasn't it?
Many, many, many times, and there's always one result. You get far, far higher prices of everything, but especially real money, when they start creating a whole lot of currency. Eventually, gold and silver lie in wait. And then when the public senses this inflation of retail prices that is caused by inflation of the quantity of currency in circulation, they rush back toward gold and silver, and they have for 5,000 years.
So name some governments that have attempted to print money.
The Weimar Republic. I don't know Germany. What I just did with that $100 trillion bill.
He's got a Zimbabwe.
The Zimbabwe, yeah.
Look at this one.
This is the most recent, a $100 trillion note. This is the largest note ever printed, and 100 trillion.
And this was printed in 2000.
Yeah, but when Zimbabwe was created as a country, when it went from Rhodesia to Zimbabwe, they were, the Zimbabwean dollar was on parity with the US dollar. $1 US was the same as a Zimbabwe dollar. This doesn't buy anything today. It doesn't buy a cup of coffee.
What, doesn't even buy a cup of coffee?
No. In fact, they have ruined it by putting ink on it. You can't write you can't write a list, so it would have been more valuable at this point if it was blank.
Right. See, the Greeks did the same thing when they started clipping coins. They just take the silver off of it. The Romans tried it, the English tried it, the Germans tried it, the Chinese tried it. and now the U.S. is trying it. And so that's why saving money is probably the biggest mistake you could make right now, because today money is no longer money. It's now debt.
I can vouch for that because my leg is now numb.
So all currencies throughout the world are in trouble, the same way this Zimbabwe dollar is in trouble. And that's the problem with saving money. After 1971, it was no longer money.
More than 70% of all the currency on the planet is U.S. dollars.
If the U.S. dollar goes, the world goes with it.
I'm preparing by getting fully diversified. I buy both gold and silver.
We're going to talk a little bit about why I quit real estate. I've been involved in the real estate industry in one way, shape, or form or another for about 20 years, always looking for ways to create extra income, investment income, and a good return on capital. I know real estate has been very, very popular, and if any of you know anybody that may still be involved in the real estate industry, or maybe you yourself, this presentation will be a fantastic tool for you to present a formidable case on why anyone involved in real estate should be involved with Karatbars as well. As I said, we're always looking for ways to make money, and I used to do real estate, as I said, until someone showed me the Karatbars International business model. When I was doing real estate, a typical real estate flip, I would have a goal of turning a profit of $20,000 to $30,000 per flip, which usually took anywhere from 2 to 3 months. So, you know, if I could do 4 of these a year, that's a good year. Well, that's all well and good when real estate is not as risky as it is right now. When the real estate market is booming, it's a great idea, but as we all know, things have changed. Since 2008, money isn't flowing free and easy as it once was. Credit standards have tightened up to the point where it's very, very hard to find buyers for homes these days. So I found myself with, at the peak, I had 12 properties I couldn't sell. I had to rent them out. So it kind of threw a wrench into the works. Well, here are the 12 reasons why I quit real estate once someone showed me the business model with Karatbars International. I quit real estate because real estate ties up more cash. I've done flips where I finance the entire project out of my pocket. I've done flips where I finance the entire deal out of the bank's pocket. I've done everything in between. But whatever you do, it's going to tie up some cash, and not just a little bit, a lot of cash. And if you have a very fast flip, you may be tying that up in two months, for 2 months. So that's quite a while to tie up that kind of cash. And with Karatbars, we're talking about $2,100, probably less than your closing costs for your house, and it's just a one-time pop, just one-time upfront capital injection. And number 2, I quit real estate because of all the liability and the risk. You know, everybody wanted to sue you. You know, even subcontractors and you know, buyers and people slipping on your sidewalk if you don't plow the snow, and just a lot of different risk exposures that you don't have with the Karatbars International business. There is no liability. Number 3, materials, labor, and carrying costs. Guys, as a general contractor for 20 plus years, always having to coordinate materials, deliveries, labor, dealing with subcontractors. Sometimes they don't show up. If you have employees, sometimes they don't show up. All of them think they're overworked and underpaid, but you got to deal with them. And then there's the carrying costs. If you finance it with a bank, you've got to make the payments to the bank. The bank doesn't care whether you buy or sell it, they just want their money. With a Karatbars business, you don't have that. Not only that, you don't have to improve the property. It is as good as it's ever going to be, and the improvements are done behind the scenes by our IT department, so you don't have to deal with that. Number 4 reason I quit real estate are just the improvements required themselves. Another injection of capital to bring that property up to the level where you can expect to sell it. And then you got to deal with inspectors, and again, those dreaded subcontractors. Well, with the Karatbars business, no, you work at home. And not only do you work at home, but you work at home with the people that you select to get involved with your business. Very unique. And real estate, the fifth reason I quit real estate is with the new regulations for lead paint and asbestos. More risk and more expense. And again, with Karatbars business, you don't have any of those hassles. You've got fees, permits, and inspectors to deal with. And again, Karatbars, you don't have that. And with the real estate flip, you've got a goal of 20 to 30% return on your capital. And with a Karatbars business, you've got more return on capital and less work involved to achieve that goal. And so $30,000, $40,000 a flip. With Karatbars International, you're talking $10,000, $20,000, $30,000, and even $40,000 a month. Cash flow is possible with this asset class. Back to real estate. Reason number 9, no residual income if you flip it. You'll have some income if you rent it, but you're going to have some headaches with that rental income. Like sometimes they tear up your carpet, sometimes you got a leaky roof or damage or different things like that. With Karatbars business, it's all residual income. Yes, you do have some upfront commissions on your direct commission, on your direct sales, on your package sales, but it's mostly a fully seasoned Karatbars business is almost 99% residual income. Another reason, number 10, profits at closing only happens one time on a flip, at closing. You get your chunk of money, you move on down the line. With Karatbars, you take your profits every week in cash and in gold. How cool is that? It just keeps on spinning off cash and gold every week with no hassles. Number 11, real estate flip. We're paid in cash or the digital equivalent. Or we walk away from closing with a check, don't we? Well, with a Karatbars business, you're not only paid in cash and its digital equivalent, but you're also in a position to get paid in gold if you want. Wow, is that exciting. And then 12th reason is the timing. Real estate, the timing is not great. Here where I live in Ohio, it's horrible. Where Karatbars, not only is the timing good, but this is actually becoming a movement. So the top 10 reasons. You ever watch David Letterman on television? He has top 10 reasons. Well, a top 10 list. Well, here's mine. Where an account is advisable. Well, first of all, the asset class itself is one that has a 5,000 plus year history, and it's all good. It's a vehicle to move, control, preserve, multiply, and properly care for capital. Can be income producing. The potential is contained within the system, which has the ability to spin off weekly cash flow and gold. And you're at the same time decoupling from the banking system, paltry interest rates, and fiat paper currency. And at the same time, you're exchanging and coupling units of money to physical gold, where you can take delivery or keep it in free storage. And there's no repairs, maintenance costs, or other cash demands. The affiliate rewards program is nothing short of incredible. Earnings and profits can be taken in cash or in 999.9 gold grams. And number 10, you're going to increase your financial IQ as you learn the truth about our money and our money system. This, in essence, is a way to manage cash flow with gold, in gold if you prefer, in a private system you control. My goodness, what is there to say no to? I don't see anything. So my decision was, I'm going to stop doing the real estate on the left, dealing with banks